Hello and welcome to another video. Today's video I'm going to dive into romances, specifically Penelope Douglas romances. I've been seeing Penelope Douglas kind of hyped up on BookTube recently. I've been interested in her as an author. I don't actually have access to Punk 57 because it's like never at the library when I go there. I don't know. Anyways, so I'm starting with her debut novel, which is Bully, and I also have the second book in the series, which is Rival. There is a book 1.5, but I don't have that. Both of these I found at work. Like at work, we have this little bookshelf with a ton of books that we can borrow. And I found these there and I thought, why not? So from what I know about these books, Bully is an enemies to lover, which is a little bit more intense because he is basically a bully romance from what I know. I don't know much more about that. And for Rival, I'm pretty sure it's like a stepbrother, stepsister kind of situation. And I've never read anything like that before. And so I'm kind of interested to see where this goes. Also, both of these books have some pretty good ratings on Goodreads. They're either at 4 or a little bit above it, which is pretty good for romances, honestly. Also on Goodreads, I noticed the queen, Natasha Preston, had rated both of these 5 out of 5 stars and said that they were amazing books. Also, if you don't know who Natasha Preston is, she's like one of my favorite authors. I have a good number of her books on my shelf. But yeah, I kind of talk about her often. So for her to say that these are 5 out of 5 stars, I'm very interested in seeing where that goes. So I did actually start reading Bully. I didn't get very far into it. I'm on page 20, which is like chapter 3 maybe, I don't know. So far, I'm really enjoying her writing style. I can't really say much about the plot because I'm only 20 pages in, so you know, there's not much that's happened yet. But her writing style is very grabbing. Like it makes me want to read more and more and more of it. The reason why I didn't read more was because I had to cook dinner and there's only so much time in the day. So I'm excited to keep reading more of this and to read Rival. All right, so I'm on page 94 and I think there's like a little bit over 300 pages. So, you know, like a little bit under a third of the way through Bully. And I'm really enjoying it so far. Like, I really like her writing style, even though some things seem just like a little bit silly. Like, for example, she says, in elementary school, we played with magnets that clashed together when you flipped them to the positive side, but if you flip them to the negative side, then the magnets will repel each other. Jared is one side of a magnet, never flipping over to accommodate anyone. He was what he was. Like, I get what she's trying to say with that, but that's just bad science. That is not how magnets work. There's like other little silly things like, we'll discuss during tomorrow's class your first project for presenting a monologue to the class. This class is literally called Themes in Film and Literature. This isn't a drama class. Why do they have to perform a monologue? That actually doesn't make any sense to me. The point of this is, like, I understand that this is a debut novel, so there's gonna be small, like, little silly things like that. But besides that, I'm really enjoying her writing style. It's very gripping. It's hard to put down. Like, I haven't made it very far within, like, you know, the past couple of days, but that's just because, like, I had literally 100 other things to do. But I really want to just, like, sit here and read for hours, and I can with this book because it's like, once I start reading, I actually can't stop. And I love that about this book. So far, so good. Having a good time. Definitely having some 4-star vibes. It's a little bit difficult to predict what I'm going to give this book because I'm not really a fan of bullies. And I've never read a bully romance before, so I'm not exactly sure where this is going. But yeah, so far, so good. So I had every intention of giving this book back to work because in my head, I was just borrowing it. I wasn't stealing it from work, but I couldn't help but mark it up. Like, there's these tabs and then I also just penciled it all up. Yeah, so I guess this copy is mine now. I'll try not to do the same thing to Rival so that I can give that one back, but you know, we'll see what happens. So I did finish this book since the last time that I updated. And before I get into that, I just kind of want to update what I learned about the series. So this is Penelope Douglas's debut novel and novel series. There are 5 books in the series. So this is book 1 and it follows Jared and Tate. And then this is book 2 and it follows Jared's best friend, Madoc. And then book 3 follows Tate's best friend, Casey. And then book 4 follows Jared and Tate again, like 4 years after their love story happens in book 1. And then book 5, which is technically book 1.5, is Bully retold through Jared's perspective, because this one is in Tate's perspective. The reason why I'm telling this is because I didn't know if each book was a companion novel or if it was a continuation of a series. So since there are 3 books in Jared and Tate's love story, I was going to just skip over Rival and Casey's book, and I was going to read the continuation of their story. However, I only have access to that through ebook, and I have to read it on my phone, and I don't love reading books that way. And since I have this one in a physical copy, I figured I'll just stick with the original plan and I'll read Rival. So anyways, I finished reading Bully, and I ended up giving it 4 stars on Goodreads, but that's really like a 4.25 stars. I really loved the story. It was very interesting, and it really like kept my attention. It's one of those books that was hard to put down. I feel like I've been repetitive with this phrasing, but it really was. So the book follows Jared and Tate, who were best friends when they were children, and then Jared moves away to live with his father for a summer, and he comes back a changed man, and they are no longer friends, and he bullies Tate. And then we kind of get into the enemies to lovers kind of situation. There were a couple things in this book that I did not love that kind of just made me a little bit, I don't want to say uncomfortable because that feels like too strong of a word, but it just made me really upset with how people were acting and the reasons behind why they were acting, so I couldn't give it 5 stars. For this being my first ever bully romance, I really did enjoy it, and I would recommend it to anybody who likes toxic situations and likes to read about bullies and, you know, when the bully wins. And I feel like it's not a spoiler because this is a romance, so what did you expect to happen? And for like a debut novel, I really think that it was great, and I really do want to read more of her works. Specifically, I want to read Punk 57 after I finish this Bully series. So Rival follows Madoc, who is a pretty strong secondary character in Bully, and I've grown to like his character, so I want to see where this romance goes. I know this is with his stepsister who had moved away and came back. Beyond that, I don't know much more, and I don't really want to know much more until I actually read the book. So I'm going to read about halfway through this, and then I will give another update. Hello, it's me again with crazy messy hair. What else is new? Anyways, I just wanted to give a quick little update on Rival. I am a little bit more than halfway through. I'm on page like 200, and there's like 340 pages in this copy. So far, I'm really liking this story. Honestly, I think so far it's better than Bully, and I really liked Bully. So now that I know a little bit more about the story, I just wanted to kind of explain what the story is. So we're following Madoc and his story with his stepsister Fallon. What happened was when they were, it doesn't exactly say how old they were, but I'm guessing 14, 15, their parents got married, and then very quickly separated without a legal separation. Penelope Douglas really drives the point that they're not really a family unit. So I guess to kind of go with the whole like stepbrother, stepsister thing is a little bit less taboo because they're really just like strangers that live in the same house. So I'm kind of liking this more than Bully because it's, I don't want to give any spoilers, but I would say it's similar circumstances, but having more events happening. Also, in terms of the whole series, you definitely can skip this book and the next one and go right into Aflame if you want to just continue Jared and Tate's story. Penelope Douglas even writes a little blurb in the beginning of Aflame. Hold on, I'll read it to you. So she says, While every book in the series is written to be a standalone, Aflame will be most enjoyed by those who have read at least Bully, as Aflame is a continuation of that story. So Penelope Douglas says that you can skip ahead and just read Aflame after you read Bully, but I'm really glad that I didn't, because you do see bits of their story through Fallon and Madoc's point of view, which I thought was really, really interesting. But yeah, enough for now. I will update again when I finished. I finished Rival. I ended up giving this 3 stars actually. But this next part is going to be a little bit contradictory, but I'll explain myself. So I liked this book more than Bully, but I had to rate it lower because there was a lot of problems with this one that I couldn't really ignore. One of the biggest issues for why I rated this 3 stars, I didn't like Fallon as a character. She didn't really have any character development, and I couldn't really understand a lot of the decisions she was making. And she made a lot of stupid decisions. This book kind of relies on misunderstandings. So like every conflict that happened was due to a misunderstanding, and it could have been so easily fixed by just telling people instead of letting them continue to assume the wrong thing. And I hate that. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves in books. And that happened like 7 times in this book. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but it happened a lot. And it was really annoying. Another big problem I had with this was Madoc's behavior. So I really liked Madoc as a character in Bully, and I thought that his character would be fleshed out more and we would get more backstory and more character development and growth and all that, and we just didn't. Like, we just didn't get that in this book, and it was so disappointing. So having a romance where I didn't really like either one of the characters and they didn't feel developed kind of made it hard to enjoy the romance. On top of that, there were numerous spicy scenes. In Bully, there's like 2-3 spicy scenes. In Rival, there's like 12. It feels kind of weird saying this, but like, we all know what happens in romance books. Like, you're reading these expecting there to be some smut. However, in this book, it got to the point where I was actually skipping through them because there was so many. And I felt like it was starting to take away from the story, because now we're getting way more spicy scenes than we're getting actual relationship development. And that kind of took away from the story too, which is another reason I gave it 3 stars. I'm also starting to notice something kind of funny about the way that women are portrayed in these books. And I don't know if it's just like an accidental thing or if there's some actual misogyny going on. I kind of feel like I have to read more of Penelope Douglas's later works to really kind of have a more solid opinion on that. So aside from like the negatives, I enjoyed this book a lot. Once you kind of look past the characters' flaws, the times that they are together and the times that they're getting along is enjoyable and satisfying. All in all, I don't really think I'm gonna continue this series. I really liked Bully, and if I read just Bully, I would be happy. But Rival kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, and I am definitely not looking forward to the next book, which is Casey's love story. And this is kind of a popular opinion, but I hated Casey and Bully, and I don't care enough to read a whole book about her. For the other books in the Jared and Tate love story, not really high on my priorities right now. It's possible I'll get to them eventually, but I'm good. I'm good with the Bully series. I'm good. So that's it for the reviews of Bully and Rival, but I did want to give a quick little channel update because you'll probably notice I'm not posting as consistently as I was, and that's because a posting schedule stresses me out to the highest degree. So I am cutting out those deadlines, I'm taking away a consistent posting schedule, and I'm gonna be posting a lot more sporadically. Sometimes it's gonna be once a week, sometimes it'll be like 3 times a week. It really depends on how I'm feeling, honestly. Coming into the spooky season, I'm probably gonna be bombarding everybody with videos. Stay tuned for that if you like spooky themed videos. Anyways, Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.